Like I said, we do this breakfast call every single morning where we trade together and make money together. So today we're going to be focused on the ECC-11 strategy. For those who are brand new on the call, my name is Randy Webb, Chairman 25 in the company. And our goal is to show you how to trade using the WebAnalyzer with the ECC-11 strategy, something very simple. So let's get it. Let's jump into the market right now. So if you're brand new, we start the call just like this every day. I'm sure you have the WebAnalyzer because you were able to get on the call. So here's how you set up your WebAnalyzer. First things first, make sure you go and choose a strategy. So right down here where it says strategy, you're going to go and click on, it's going to say select template on yours. You're going to find Dr. Kathy Kirkland ECC-11 strategy. Okay, and then you're going to go down. You can turn on your cha-ching sounds or you can turn them off. It's all up to you. And then you're going to make sure you save for mobile and then save your settings. Once that happens, you'll have this screen here and your setup will already be here just like this. You're going to make sure you change your cloud settings. So the Ichimoku right here, you're going to click on this gear right here to change your settings. Very important. Your settings will be 6, 13, 26, 13, so conversion line 6, baseline 13, lagging span 26, and displacement is going to be 13. Then we're going to go over to style. It's going to be swap, so make sure that your conversion line is red. Make sure that your baseline is blue. Okay, this is very important. We're going to talk about the Tankinson, which is the red line, and the Kimson, which is the blue line, which is called the baseline. Make sure you save as default so you don't have to keep on coming back and to continue to do this every time that you log in. All right, then once you got that set, just know inside the WebAnalyzer you can do, there's trade ideas that happen all day long. So look for different trade ideas in here from Dr. Kathy Kirkland, myself, or Camille. And then also Forex. We have the different things that we can trade Forex. You can also trade cryptocurrency. For those that don't know, Dr. Casey trades cryptos on Friday night. So you can get in here and trade the cryptos. It works perfectly with the strategy that we're going to talk about today and the technique. And then, of course, you can trade your indexes. So we have the US 30, and then we have our commodities, which are your gold and silver. So we're going to be trading Forex today, so let's jump right into it. I use a very simple checklist, one that's actually in your academy. If you go to Beyond Basics, of course, go to Technical Analysis, and it's going to be video number 4. It's called the High Probability Checklist. I take that and I use it with the cloud here. The cloud is very powerful, so we're going to just talk about some of the things that the cloud provides you with this 4 confirmation checklist. So first things first, so as soon as I look at an opportunity, typically I do not look at the M5, but because we apply this checklist, it doesn't matter. I'm going to look at all charts anyway, so I don't really look at the M5. So if I'm going to do, if it's saying sell here, the first thing I want to look at is I'm going to go look at the M15 chart, okay? So first thing, we're going to look at the number 1 confirmation is we're going to look at the trend. Okay, trend is your friend. We always want to trade with the trend. So if it's in a downtrend, I'm looking for a sell opportunity. If it's in an uptrend, I'm looking for a buy opportunity. All right. So we don't have to draw lines because the cloud tells us our trend. So anytime that price is below the cloud, so it's this purple thing right here, it has these lines that you see. So you have this red line, which we call a Seco span B, and the green, which is called Seco span A. It makes up the cloud. It makes up your trend. They're very significant because they are what we call your major reversal areas, or your resistance areas when price is below, or your support areas when price is above. Okay. So we're looking for the trend. So we're going to look at the M15 chart, the H1 chart, the H4 chart, and the daily. So before I get that started, you can go ahead and put your horizontal line. See the second one here? Take that, put it where the WebAnalyzer is suggesting. So the WebAnalyzer is critical in this process because it gives you a nice support and resistance level for entry. So we're going to click on that line that we created there. And we're putting our coordinates, which is going to be the price. So 82850 right here is the entry price. So we go 82850. Okay, call our entry down here. So, and you see where that's right, that support right where price was reversed. So we're obviously not getting on this trend. You see it kind of pushing up against the cloud and respecting it. So let's take a look. M15 currently below the cloud. H1 below the cloud. Let's look at the H4. It's above the cloud. So we would stop our process here, and you can kind of see this. So here's what's happening. It call for the sell on that. Obviously, overall, you know, on the 4 hour, I can see it's a buy here, right? we're in an uptrend. So we're going to continue to look at our day chart. Okay, so there will be possibly a pullback. Hence, that's why you see it, below the cloud on the 15 and on the H1. So here's and this is when you really look at the relationships here. So we'll end up looking at this once it breaks. So if we get this break above the cloud, now we're going to be actually looking for a buy opportunity. So let me just change this to M15. M15 typically gives you this short-term sells and buys, and you don't want to trade against the trend for the most part. Okay. All right. 1 second here. All right, so let's look at this next one here. Let's go right through that. So, and I'm just going to filter through the opportunities that are getting pushed here through the WebAnalyzer, and then we'll just stop and I'll go through the full checklist once we find a good opportunity here. As key, this is somewhat a sideways market, but we're still going to look. So we're going to look at the M15, so below the cloud on the H1. Look at the M15 chart. And what I'm doing, it's called a high probability confirmation checklist. So it's not that we can't do any of the trades that we're seeing, it's that I'm focused on high probability trades right now. And so I'm looking for all the confirmations to match up. And the first one is make sure all the trends match up on the cloud here. With that technique, so far it's been 100%. Now, there are going to be times that we take losses in the market, some things you just can't control. But we go for that high probability success rate. So on the daily, above the cloud here, so we'll talk about the relationship with trend. All right, so possibly a first wave here, right, on the day chart. So we have a correction pullback here, and then you look at the 4-hour. So it could break past, if it breaks past this point, boom, and then we get that, but that would have to go below the daily as well too. So we won't trade the cloud yet. We're going to look for that break if it is going to happen here. But anytime, and this is a perfect set, we're going to talk about this, when the red line crosses below the blue line, it is an indication of a sell. The way that I look at the high probability, however, the cloud is very powerful, and these lines, the Kinderson, they all act as support and resistance. So when price is above or below these lines, just know that it's a possibility that it may touch that line in reverse. So we'll look at the relationship here with the Kinderson. So based off that, could we trade it? Possibly, yes. Because if this breaks this point, comes up and retests and falls down, this is a 30 pips in between this point here. We may possibly come back to NZD, JPY. Let me see this. Let me go back there. So we don't miss any calls here. So what we're looking for is the break past this point here. And one of the critical things I'm looking at here, so the full checklist, we want to make sure that the daily, all of them show the same thing. So here, we'll take a look at this opportunity, just possibly may get in there. However, just know that this will probably at some point impulse back to that way. So let's go look at some more opportunities here, see if we can find the right one. All right, folks, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the full checklist here. I'll tell you what I'm looking at. All right. Gonna be we'll go ahead and sell NZD JPY. Selling NZD JPY for 10 pips. All right. All right, I'm gonna sell for NZD JPY for 10 pips. My entry is 71.896. TP is gonna be 71796. All right. All right, so let's talk about this checklist real quick. So, and typically, and we'll talk about that, you know, the one on the day chart. So we're kind of still in we're going to talk about the overall, what we see here for the view. So high probability checklist, I require that it's on all, we're going to try to get a quick 10 pips. Now I require that it's below the cloud for a sell on all the charts. So the first thing that we're looking at a high probability confirmation checklist, number one, we're going to look at the trend. We're going to trade with the trend. So on the M15 chart, we want it to be below the cloud. On the H1 chart, we want it to be below the cloud. On the H4 chart, we want it to be below the cloud. And on the daily, we do want it to be below the cloud. And I'll tell you, you know, what I did here. So I still look at this as somewhat short term. So if you see here, you realize that this did this several times. So the Kendrickson is considered our stop loss line. It's also a support line right now. So on the day chart, you know, we have a bearish candle. So I expect we're going to get 10 pips out of this as it's pushing down. So we'll get our 10 pips in. But overall, this is going into an overall uptrend. So when we look at this, we really are in on a correction right now overall. So we look at the way that all this relates together. So I go here, then I go down to the 4 hour. And this is why we look at all the charts. On the 4 hour, we really have what a correction or a flag here. Then we go to our 1 hour. And what we're going to do, once you get about 5 pips in profit or a couple pips of profit, you're going to put your stop loss in profit. We're going to watch this one closely because if it keeps pounding against this part here, make sure you lock your profit in. But right now we're good. As far as currency strength, it's still going to be dropping at this point. If we see this change, then one of the things I look at is the currency strength meter. So NZD currently weaker than the JPY, so we're still going to get a good push down. If this changes on us, okay, this is based off what I'm seeing here because it's not all below the cloud. Typically, it's all below the cloud, so I'm comfortable. It's good. But this one is, I'm still looking at it as short term because it hasn't really broken yet. And you see it is pounding against pretty much a support zone here. So we're right at entry right now. Some of you should probably be in the blue already. You probably got an earlier entry. I know I pushed the button a little bit late. Yes, TP is my TP is 71796. But if you had an earlier entry, make sure that you set 10 pips. So subtract 10 pips from, you know, where 8-9. If you had an 8-9 entry or a 9-0 entry, just subtract 10. Okay, subtract for a sell. All right, so let's talk about the checklist here. So not too much coming out coming out yet. So we'll just see if we get some stuff to pop out. It feels like the market is kind of moving slow compared to where it's usually at. The first thing I look at, trend. So we want to always trade with the trend. Trend is your friend. That's why, personally, I don't set stop losses when it comes to this strategy here, high probability. This one, however, we'll be on here. We'll make a decision on what we're going to do as far as getting the 10 pips, let the market move, because I do suspect that it will kind of shift up at some point. But right now, it is below the cloud, just below the cloud on all these charts, which is just a correction right now. So we're going to see what we can get out of this and look for any other opportunity to happen here. So we look for the trend. Number 2, we're looking at support and resistance areas, okay? So what the cloud did, if we go back to this opportunity here, so the H1 chart is what it called it on. It actually gave us an entry point of 71970. So I would take my horizontal line, put it somewhere in the area, click on it, edit the line here, put 71970. All right, so right at entry there gave us that entry, which is a good support and resistance area. So what the WebAnalyzer does, it gives a great entry point when it places that. It's your support and resistance area. So it's going to be your number 2 step that you're going to need. So you guys should definitely be in the blue now. Your number is going to give you your number 2 step that you need. So number 1, trend. Number 2, make sure you get 2 to 3 retests, which we have retests off the support area. We also have our red line that's crossed below our blue line, which is an indication of a sell, okay? And so it's when it's below the cloud, it's a good indication of a sell. Number 3, once we get our major reversal areas and support and resistance area, which the WebAnalyzer gives you that, and then the cloud is your reversal area. So when we go and we look at the H1, we look at the M15, look at the H4, and the day chart, that's our reversal areas. So what you see me do, this line is based off our Kinnison. The Kinnison is right below it on the day chart. So I suspect that we're definitely going to come down, hit this part. So we're within the boundaries of our take profit. So our take profit is right here. And then I place the resistance line or support line right here. So price should expect price to move down to this point here at our TP. However, we look at every one of the charts. We want them to be below the cloud on all the charts. And then, so number 2, support and resistance, major reversal areas. Number 3, we're looking to get in on the pullback. That's a critical one because we don't want to get caught in the pullback. So the greatest part, pullback happened here, of course, on the M15, and we got in right here. We got in 8-9 right around this area here. So some of you may have gotten in at this point, which is awesome. So we got the retest, price start moving in the direction. So boom, you get your 2 to 3 retests on the pullback, okay? Price starts moving in your direction, and then you can enter the trade. That's number 4, price moving in your direction as it execute the trade. And that's where we are now. So currently we're in the blue just by a little bit. We're going to watch a little bit. So looking good in the blue. Let's see how far that shifts down. Currency strength still looks good, no transition. So NZD, what I look at here is I want to ensure that when I'm trading, if I'm going in for a sell, I don't want to enter the sell. This had higher bars than JPY, don't enter the sell. It's opposite of what you're trying to do. You're going to get caught in a pullback. But NZD is weaker than JPY. So as of right now, we're looking for still get our nice shift down, being that this currency is actually weaker, okay? Now you see it is pinging in between, our trend line that we had here, okay? So we're gonna watch that. I want to break of this area here. All right, but that's the high probability confirmation checklist. So we'll look through some more and look for some more opportunities here. We'll watch this one. So let's go see if we can find something else in the market. Yeah, it feels like the market is slow. So I'm looking. This is what do you mean? Is this my go? This is the technique that I use as far as when I trade the cloud and trade with the WebAnalyzer. This checklist, I can give it to you right now, but it's on. If you go to technical analysis, it won't be broken down in this shape. it won't be broken down in necessarily this exact form because I use it with the cloud, but it's the high probability confirmation checklist on technical analysis, video 4 in your academy. Okay. The great thing is we have, now what I'll tell you soon, when you see this here, anytime you see the dips in the cloud, it's an indication of where a pullback is going to occur in the future. So you kind of see this here, and then you see this, the pullbacks happen here, and then guess what is going to happen here too, pullback. So sorry about that, just answering the message here. Give me 1 second, folks. All right. All right, everyone should be in the blue right now, still hitting the same areas. So we're waiting for a little bit past this point to keep it. All right. Let's go see if we can find something else here. So you can find my recordings. I actually post all my recordings on YouTube. So you can find my YouTube channel under Randy Webb. If you just type in, I believe ECC-11 Strategy or high probability ECC-11, it should pop up. The recording just I post videos. I'll be posting this recording as well too on there, so you can find the recordings. And I'll have a shorter version of the checklist as well that you can actually follow by. So let's see what else we can find here. So we're already in NZD JPY. We won't do EJ. It's pretty much like the same trade, plus EUR is a little bit stronger right now. Seems to want to put GBP AUD. So let's take some look at stuff at some things. It feels like the market is slow right now. So let's see what we got here. All right. Strong. It's a good training part here. We'll talk about this. And so when it comes to trading, folks, one thing that I've learned, we want to always react to the market and not be proactive in the market, meaning we're not jumping things too fast because we feel that it looks like it's going to go to a place. I remember doing that and just kind of, it looks like it's going to do a certain thing and then it does another. So we react to the market versus being proactive in the market. And here's what I mean by that. So, going through our checklist again, if you're looking for an opportunity, first thing I love for the WebAnalyzer to call it. So if you're not experienced, the WebAnalyzer is typically going to give you a nice support and resistance area line. All right. So one thing I'll do here, let's see what we got. There. So you see, let's talk about the SQL span B. This SQL span B that makes up the cloud is also a support and resistance line as well too. So if you see the price is actually hitting against it. But then when you go down to we go to the day chart, right? It's below the cloud. And so right now, could we be looking for a buy opportunity? Absolutely. However, we're going to wait for a lot of this to transition first so we can ensure that we're in the clear. But right now, for how I typically trade, I don't trade against the trend for the most part. All right. So, but we could look at this and you see it on the day chart for those who do draw trend lines. With the cloud, you don't have to. I use a high probability confirmation checklist. So This would be considered on a pullback, right, a correction on the day chart if this is happening, which is long term, of course. This is a lot that's happening in between this part. But what you want to be cautious of, the issue here, like some folks, if you want to do a short term buy, remember, there at any time during this process, news, someone speaks, anytime during this process, this can break out to the downside. And then you're stuck in a trade and wonder, is it going to come back? I don't know if it's going to come back or not. So when we're trading using the trend on all the charts, we kind of get rid of that where we really get stuck in trades. Most of the time, the trade is always going to come back to where it's supposed to be at if we're trading with the trend. So if you were to get into, let's say a buy here, and you were in, then all of a sudden pull back, well, we know that this thing is eventually going to come back down. Now, obviously, this is the day chart, so these are really big moves. This is as far as pip wise, 150, 180 pips. However, you have your tanks and your Kenshin. Remember, these act as resistance points when price is below, as support points when price is above. So you can see on the day chart, Tenkan-sen, which is your conversion line, is there. And then on the 4-hour, it's right inside the cloud. So we're not going to trade this. We're going to let price make a decision first. All right, we just got some new trades here, so let's take a look. All right, USD-CHF, look at this. So we're going to do this fast. All right, cool. On the 1-hour, it's inside the cloud. 4 hours above the cloud. So, and then look at the day chart. So on a transition up, so we'll talk about this trade here. It's not ready yet as far as high probability, but I'll tell you exactly what's happening. So it's going to come on a pullback now, and that's what it's calling for that sale. Inside the cloud, we're not going to trade if you're brand new, and don't know how to trade the cloud just perfectly yet. Definitely don't trade inside the cloud because you don't know what the price is going to do. Currently, it's trapped. So we're going to let price make a decision. Get our red line cross over the blue line, which is an indication of a buy. But remember, below the cloud is a short-term sell. So this may pull back. It can break this line or it may shift up. Right now, like I said, price is trapped in between these two places here. We go to our 4-hour chart. Currently on the pullback here, which is calling, but also you got your Kenshin. You see your Kenshin is acting as a support zone right now. So we're going to let price make a decision as well. But once again, so uptrend on your 4-hour. 1 hour, 15-minute coming through the cloud. So what we don't want to do, we don't want to get caught in this pullback yet. Let me go on this 15-minute here. Take a quick look. Looking good. I missed that. We went 5 pips in profit. I don't know if you guys set your stop loss in profit for NZD JPY. It was 5 pips in profit. I'm still in the trade, so. But if you did set 5 pips in profit, you probably got knocked out in profit already. If not, we're still in the trade. Yes, the horizontal is the support and resistance line that gets called by. Yes, Thomas, you should stay in NZD JPY. The horizontal line is the support and resistance area. the support and resistance area that the WebAnalyzer calls. So we're going to click here when we set our horizontal line, and we're going to input the number that's suggested by the WebAnalyzer. So we go here. This is AUD USD. We type in 69242. All right, so right on our support and resistance. So let's look at this whole scenario here. So we looked at the M15. It was a below the cloud. We looked at the H1. It was a below the cloud. We looked at the H4. It was a below the cloud. It wasn't below the cloud on the day chart yet. Okay, so we're gonna watch it here. However, it is below one of our lines. Let me just place another line here. All right, so it's giving us the entry point. So here's what we're looking at now. Everybody should be back in profit in ZDJPY. So here's what we're looking at here. Number one, trend. So we looked at all the charts. The only chart, once again, the day chart is not per se fully below the cloud yet. It's actually inside the cloud. So we're just gonna watch for a little bit, but we do have enough room to get 10 pips in there. In between that cloud is about 30 pips because those inside this cloud, these lines, they do act as support and resistance areas. So we're gonna see what happens here. We're gonna look at let's see, make sure I have enough to get 10. Yep. All right, so we looked at our trend already. Everybody should be about 5 pips in profit for NZD-JPY. You can feel free to bring your stop loss into the profit, or you can just wait for it to drop down, hit 10 pips. Trend, we've already looked at that. So we looked at all the clouds. On the daily, it's still in transition. The next one, our support and resistance areas. So the WebAnalyzer just gave us a nice support and resistance area. So we went across here on the 1 hour or the 4 hour, you'll see that it's set it up nicely for us. Boom, you see this is a nice support and resistance area that's going across. Okay, and then we also have our day chart area set up. Next, we're looking to get in on the pullback. So pullback has happened, and we are below our support line here. Go ahead and we're gonna sure, and I'm gonna be selling AUD USD for 10 pips. Make sure you use proper risk management. If you've already did a trade that's already leveraged you right, don't hop into another trade. Make sure you use proper risk management if you're hopping into that trade. So we're now in a sell for AUD USD. My entry point is 0.69229. Okay, 0.69229. So my TP is going to be 0.69129. .69129. You should just now be in the blue for both. All right. All right, so we're now to trade NZD JPY in the blue, and then we're at AUD USD as well. So let's talk about this trade. Why this is not a norm. Typically, I wait for it to be below the day chart. Obviously, the market's moving a little bit different today, but these should be some trades we should get a quick 10 pips in. So we're not doing long-term trades per se. Typically, if you're brand new, of course, trading the cloud, you just got to understand what the cloud is. So the reason I went into this, so it's already below what we call the Seco span B, right? Which is also considered a resistance area, okay, right now because price is below it. And then this is actually a support area down here. So we're just grabbing some pips in between this zone here. It can possibly pull back up. So that's why you got to be this. I look at this as a short-term move when we're making a sell. However, when we're doing with the trend, with everything below the cloud, you can also look for longer term. But I'm confident that this is the 10 pips is going to close out for AUD USD as well too. But definitely, once you get 5 to 6 pips in profit, bring your stop loss into profit. So worst case scenario, you get taken out 5 pips, and if you have to re-enter back in, you can do that to get your 10 pips for the day within that trade. So I'm gonna go over the checklist one more time. So we got some opportunities out of the way there. We looked at everything on here. Let's see. Let's take a look at EUR AUD actually. Didn't see that one. So you gotta watch. So sometimes the WebAnalyzer will throw all the trades out at one time. Oh wow, yeah. Let's take a look. 15 H1 H4 day chart. So right now this would be considered short term, a short term buy. What is it calling for? Call for a buy here. So overall, when we look at this, this could be the first wave of our trend to the downside. So EUR AUD, I'm looking at that right. And this is why it's critical to look at all the charts. So we may get a small pullback here, so we'll see. Remember, it's going to happen on a smaller time frame first. So we may get a small pullback here. So we're going to wait for that one, not jump in just yet, but we'll pay attention to it. Now you can kind of see the relationships of how all this works when you look at this, okay? So really you see that it's a correction up. So we came down, consolidation, reversal back up, and then we can possibly get a shift back down. So hence, this is why I look at all the clouds, making sure looking at the relationship of where everything is at. So you're not caught. And this basically tells you, right? You see that dip in the clouds. Anytime you see a dip in the cloud right there is an indication that there will be a pullback at some point in this area. So we will get that pullback here at some point. All right, so slight pullback on AUD USD. Let's take a look at all of them. So we can go back to our trades and let's talk through those. And then I'll answer any questions. All right, so AUD right at our entry point there, so kind of pull back just a little bit. However, we got our red line crossed under our blue line below the cloud. We consider that a strong sell when it's below the cloud. Same thing in 15 chart, red line crossed below the blue line, kind of together though. So this is an indication of a little consolidation. So we got our pullback happening. So we're gonna wait for our transition down. And then we go to our 4-hour chart. It was below the cloud there as well too. Same thing, red line crossed below the blue line. Price is below our red line, so this is a good indication. It's below our red and our blue line. So anytime it's below your red and your blue line, below the cloud, and it meets the criteria below all the charts, you'll get traded for a sell and vice versa for a buy. Anytime the red line crosses above the blue line, above all the clouds, strong indication for a sell along with your support and resistance area that is suggested by the WebAnalyzer. So right now with this technique, it's been pretty good. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna answer any type of questions that we have on here. That's pretty much the checklist. So anything that you didn't understand, we'll go over. And if we have any other opportunities that pop up and our opportunities close out while we're on the call, I will do that. I have a call at 10 o'clock for the Rise and Profit. So for those who want to meet, we're gonna have our morning call, riseandprofit.com. Feel free to hop on there. That won't be trading. That's gonna be, we'll talk about the next levels where we're going to IML and, as far as the building portion of this. So, all right. Someone asked, can we look at the Germany 30? Yes, I'll take a look at that. We are in a sell for AUD USD. Yes. And the cloud is set up on my phone. Is set up the same exact way. Same settings, 61326 on my phone as well too. All right, so I'm going to take a look at the Q&A here. So someone's asking, so what if the price is below on the M15, H1, H4 in a day chart, but the red isn't below the blue on one or two of them? Do I still enter the trade? So we make entry based off the 15. So what I suggest, you want to make sure your price is definitely below the red and the blue line. Make sure your blue lines are not confused, okay? So because if you have the blue above the red and it's below the cloud on all of them, most of the time that's not the case. So make sure your settings are correct. Make sure that your red line is the conversion line and your baseline, your baseline is the blue line. Okay, so most part that's not the case because the red line should be below the blue line if everything is below the cloud, because that is definitely an indication of a full out downtrend. So if that ever happens, I've never seen a situation where that's happened. Now your red line could cross over the blue line on the 15-minute chart in your correction or in a pullback phase. So that's going to be a part of your checklist though. So number one, you're looking at the trend, everything's below the cloud. Number two, you're looking at your support and resistance areas. So like the WebAnalyzer gives us an SR, then our support and resistance is our Tengensen and Kindersen. So your Tengensen, your red line, you want it to be below the blue line before entering your trade, definitely on the 15-minute chart, because it's going to act as a resistance point for a sell, and it's going to act as a support point for a buy. Okay. Let's make sure our currency look good here. So trades are taking longer than usual. Like I said, it seems like it's not much volume in the market. Make sure we have nothing critical coming up. So I didn't check that orange folder there. Okay. So 9:10. So they're speaking now as we speak, as far as USD. So we'll pay attention to this. Typically, I just pay more attention to the red folders, but orange folders do, they do a little bit. So when everything is below the cloud, the news per se doesn't necessarily faze me as far as anything outside of a red folder, because the price is always going to return back to where it's supposed to be at. So when everything is below the cloud, it's in an overall downtrend. So even if the news takes it in the opposite direction, it's going to return back down because it was an overall downtrend, and vice versa. If you're in an uptrend, if news happens, let's say it pops up and goes the opposite way of your trade, typically it's going to return back to where it's supposed to be because you were in an overall buy in an uptrend, overall sell in the downtrend. So that's the greatest part about trading with the trend, is when stuff like that does occur, someone speaks, the market gets shaky or crazy. it's always going to return back to where it's supposed to be. And you were trading with the trend, so you're not really necessarily worried about it really going to change majorly on you. All right, so our AUD/USD still looking pretty good, I think. So get that transition down, just not as fast as our norm of what we're used to. So for your answer, Darren, make sure the red line is below the blue line on the M15 for sure for entry. All right, Daryl, it's a 2 to 3 retest after it's been called. 2 to 3 retest on the pullback. So you just want to make sure that whatever off your support and resistance line. So you want to make sure that support and resistance line is legitimate, basically. Or we got 2 to 3 retests off of our Tangenton right here. So this was the pullback actually here. So you got retest, 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 your pullback, and then price start moving in direction. And of course, now we're here on another correction. And then this is our Tangenton right here. So most likely if AUD pulls back, it will pull back to about this area here, and then we'll get our drop in there to hit our 10 pips. Yeah, go ahead and for NZD/JPY, here's what I'm going to do for this one. Because I can see it may pull back a little bit. Go ahead and put your stop loss and profit at least by 1 or 2 pips, just in case we get that pullback and it doesn't drop to our 10 pips. So, and we're getting a good drop right there, but it is playing around that zone. So it may reverse a little bit. I don't want you to get caught just in case it reverses all the way back up, because we are kind of in a flag for the long term. So if it's playing around a little bit, I'm going to set my stop loss at $71.870, and if it takes me out, I'll probably re-enter back in. All right. Because it may pull back, and then we'll be able to re-enter on the pullback for NZD/JPY. So I do have a stop loss and profit for right now. So I'm at my stop loss is 71.870. So it's like 2.5 pips right now. But I do see this I think this is going to pull back a little bit first. And the only reason I'm doing it this way, typically I don't set my stop loss because it's below the cloud on all the charts. So I'm not too worried about it, but this one is not below the cloud on all the charts yet. So let me just show you why this. This is where we stand right now. So it's not below the cloud on the day chart. So we went in, this was a short-term sell. So we just don't want to get caught in where this thing starts making it shift up. And as you see, it's a strong area. This is what we call a correction or flag on the day chart as well too. So here's where we're not trying to get caught in. Boom, it hits and then goes up, and we get our push up during the first wave. If you can't modify or your trade, you can go ahead and just close it out. It is pulling back right. You can close it out if you want. I don't know why it's not letting you modify. Is your price below that point? If you enter, did you enter later? Yes, it did hit my stop loss here. So it's showing it's going to correct back up. So all of you should have hit your stop loss for the most part. And then what we'll look at, pay attention to AZ. I'm looking at NZD/JPY. We'll look for re-entry for that one. It's pulling back now, so we'll look for that re-entry if we need to re-enter. Like I said, the market is moving. I see it's not moving as fast as we would like today typically we have a little bit more motion and movement. I think the market is paused because it's waiting to see what's going to happen in this meeting here. So they're talking right now. So we'll see what happens here. Who's your broker, Monique? You definitely probably, if that happens often, definitely want to change your broker so that you're not caught in a situation like that. It's your choice. I mean, if you're in NZD JPY and you still have it open, you want to keep it open, that's fine. The only reason that I put my stop loss and profit, like I said, you see this. Typically, I trade when all of it is below the cloud. So this is outside of my norm. My norm for high probability trades is everything is below the cloud. Okay, everything. So currently, right now, everything is not below the cloud on this one for sure. So for this to be a good trade for me to go into, it has to be below this area right here. So we went into it to get some pips knocked in. I thought we were going to get a quick 10 pips. And it played around a little bit. So you see NZD JPY is on its pullback right now. So if we do re-enter this one, I would re-enter at the top. But like I said, I know, on outside of this this strategy as well to also understand trading flag formation. So, it may be a point where this is your first wave and we might get our push up here. So this is just a correction down. So we were below the cloud on the H1, on the M15, on the H1, and on the H4. Okay. But then when we got below the day chart, so this is where we were looking to possibly get 10 pips in between this part. But like I said, it's playing around a little bit. So it may stop here and then push back up. So we just don't want to get caught in that moment. But it is on the pullback, so we'll wait for the pullback to happen. And then red line is crossed below the blue line on the 15. So we'll see if it respects that Tennyson. We can enter back in on the trade after the pullback. Remember what our confirmation checklist is. Trend, we already looked at. Support and resistance, that's going to be our Tennyson now and our Kinjinson. So these red and blue lines here. So when we go to 15, so this line right here, so red cross below the blue. So that pullback is happening now. So we understand the pullback. That's our support and resistance area right now. And so number 3, confirmation. We want to re-enter in off the pullback, and we want to get at least 2 to 3 retests. And then number 4, prices moving in the direction of travel that you want to trade in. So once the pullback happens, price starts moving in a direction, you can enter in on that trade. And like I said, the only reason we set stop loss and profit, typically I don't set a stop loss. It feels below the cloud on all of them. No, we didn't call the trade for EUR AUD. Take a look. EUR AUD was below the cloud on the day chart, so that may actually you may look for it may reverse back down. So let's take a look at it though. Yep, it's on the correction now. Let's see. Q&A, you should see the Q&A. Let me get, I know everyone's asking the question in the Q&A, so let me go through these real quick, and then we're going to be hopping off here 15 minutes before 10. So we're still in AUD USD, still in that trade there. So I was asked, see, is it 2 to 3 retest after it's being called? So 2 to 3 retest off your pullback. So the pullback, so no, when I say a pullback, I'm talking about a correction. So consolidation when the market is moving sideways for the most part. So here's what a pullback looks like. So this is what you call an impulse move, right? Or a continuation move. This is a correction move. That's a correction. Or this is a pullback, okay? So this is all a correction, a pullback, and this is also a pullback there as well, okay? All of this. And then what happens? So impulse, correction, continuation. And then what's happening again? Same thing. We're going to get some consolidation here. That's we got out with our profit. So we're going to get some consolidation here, and then you'll get your next move down. So it's just a little bit patient. So it's gonna pull back. I knew it was this because I expected us to drop and get our 10 pips right at this bump here, but it didn't push that. It didn't make that push. So it's probably going to consolidate a little bit, and then it's going to push down. So we'll see what it does in this area. So just patient with that one. Thomas asked that, should I say NZD JPY? I think you answered. Everyone's probably out right now, and just a couple pips in profit. Let's see. Currently, we are currently in AUD USD. My entry point for AUD USD was 0.69229, which we're right at we're 2 pips above entry right now. So if you haven't entered, you can enter that trade. That's so I'm in AUD USD for a sell. It's currently correcting right now, and it could possibly pull back a little bit more. Red line just crossed below the blue line, so it is going to make a push down. So far as bringing your stop loss and profit, someone asked, could you preset the stop loss at 5 pips in profit even after having TP at 5 pips? No. You can't place your stop loss in the profit until you go into profit. So that's after. It has to happen first, okay? If you want, Selena asks, what time frame would be irrelevant if I wanted to take a longer trade with higher pips? So we look at all the charts. So you're gonna look at your H4 and your day chart. So when I am trading, so if we're trading with the trend, obviously looking at the day chart and the H4 chart, if it's below the cloud on that, the truth of the matter is I'm already setting you up for long-term trades, even though we're just getting 10 pips. So talking about this money line, so you guys probably see me expand out and look at the money line several times, this green line right here. Okay, so let's go. So let's say I'm looking for a longer term trade. Now, obviously, we talked about NZD. This one right here, we see this is a flag. This is a correction long term. So this is a long term move up, is what you see me looking at here. But I know we only have in between this point. It's not too much that we have far as room, far as making this trade. And you can see price is really pounding it. It's this reversal part right here. So let's look at the money line, because the money line gives you your previous low. So when I'm taking a look at an opportunity here, I go left and I look at this green line. So you see this line right here? I would place a line there because that in the past, guess what price did? It reversed right at that point. And if you see, there's a theme there, right? And this is a flag. So you see every time price hit around this area, it reversed back up, right? Hence, we have our flag here. So we either looking for it to break down this way or to go up. This is why we can kind of lock our profit in place, and we didn't want to play around with NZD JPY too much. If it breaks past this point, right, our money line says once it breaks past this point, I'm gonna look left to my next point. Then I can start looking and saying, okay, price is gonna come down to this point here, which is the next resistance or next support zone right here, okay, based off that money line there. But if it doesn't, guess what price can do? Price is going to make it push up. So like I said, we react to the market. We're not proactive in the market. So AUD USD, and as you know, if you guys went through the steps, AUD USD is now taking this pullback. It's okay, below the cloud. And then I know on the day chart, it was right below the Seagull span. So we are going to watch it. Red line is about to cross under the blue line. Like I said, this is still not a traditional trade that I'm typically used to. I typically require that everything is below the cloud, but we'll watch it. So far, everything's good, so no worries. We're just on the correction right now for AUD USD. So after this correction, you can expect to push down. We're going to make sure we pay attention to our currency strength, make sure it doesn't change up on us. Right now, we're still good. AUD is weak. USD is stronger. So we're good there. So going back to the money line. So yes, the money line, when everything is below the clouds, so on the 4-hour chart, if I was looking for a longer term, let's look at AUD USD. I think that one's getting ready for a better setup for long term. So for example, we're looking for a longer term trade instead of more than 10 pips. So if I'm looking at AUD USD, I could actually take AUD USD to this point here. It doesn't have to be 10 pips. Okay. Now here's what I'll tell you. So 6.9, so we can take that down. So look at this trade. This is just about 100 pips right here in between this point here, long term off the 4-hour. So you can expect at this target here, that could be a first target point there. Okay. And you see me do that because I look left. Okay. Follow down to that first hook. So that tells me once it hits this point, it's going to reverse back up possibly, right? Because that's what it did in the past. And then here's our next point. This is for long term. So if you're swing trading, this is what you're looking at. So you don't care about the pullbacks. You're just in the trade for the long run. So now let's look at the day chart because we're looking at the overall trend once again. Remember, we looked at the M15, H1, H4, all in a downtrend. And then now we have the day chart. We haven't went in our downtrend yet, but this is a good night. It was a nice breakout on the day chart. So once this shifts down, you can see these are all our take profits here. So you see this one here, very critical. It's powerful because it's right there at the line. So our first take profit, we have the potential to get about 30 pips from this AUD USD trade. So if you want to go longer term in AUD USD, you have possibility to do that. Just make sure you know that it's inside the column, the day chart. So I would say at max, you can look to get about 30 pips from the AUD USD trade. So, but definitely lock in at 10 pips. Bring your stop loss and profit, so you can just lock your profit in. But you can look to get about definitely 30 pips, and then expect probably a reversal within this point, and then after a reversal, you might get another shift back down for the longer term trade. So, looking at this one as a whole, on the day chart, if we get this pop through this cloud here, we're looking at over 100 pips for sure. All right. So hopefully that answers your question for long-term trades. So you can trade long-term, of course, with the cloud. Dr. K, she's naturally a swing trader. She trades long-term. She just kind of does the 10 pips, just kind of get it out the way and get everybody fed. All right. So you can get your 10 pips and go, or you can stay in that trade much longer. Someone asked about the German 30s. Now, I don't trade the index as much, but I'll take a look at it and apply the same thing. All right, we got about, I'm gonna be on here for I'll give you another about 10 minutes, and then we're gonna hop off and shift to the Rise and Profit call. All right. All right, so what you have here, you guys just seen. So once again, check all the charts. Same thing, always going to find the overall trend on the day chart. So we see this is an uptrend here. This is a correction move here. If it respects this area, which you see, I didn't have to draw these lines. If you really look, the Kenderson actually did everything for me, right? So the Kenderson is acting as our support line right now. And guess what? Price pound against it, and now it's reversing back up. So based off the next candle, the next day candle right here, we'll see if that's going to be pushing up. Let's look at our 4-hour. Okay, so on the 4-hour, you see the trend down. So either this may reverse back all the way up, or it may push down. So you're gonna wait for this to all happen here. Structure will not be broken for this one until this area here. That's where our last higher low was. So this is a higher low. This is our higher high. This is our next higher low. If this shifts past this point, then that's a breaking structure going into a downtrend. If it doesn't, I expect that it works in between this point. If you're looking to trade it, I would definitely wait for and the WebAnalyzer didn't call any of this yet. So, but just looking at it, it's in an uptrend. So this may shift back up. Okay, so it might consolidate a little bit more, and then you may get a shift up, or it may respect this and then break out to the downside. So you need to wait for the market to do what it's going to do. What do you mean by the frost mirror? Now understand, Dr. K trades. I don't trade indexes, so don't base what I'm doing. So Dr. K, if she called it, that's what Dr. K called. So and you see on here, obviously this, like I said, this 2 to 3 retest, it's respecting this zone here. So like I said, I trade differently. I use a high probability confirmation checklist before I enter a trade. So it's a little bit different. Dr. K, like, she's been doing this for years. You know, she's an 8-figure trader. So there's things that she sees in the market naturally because she's done this over and over and over again. So she knows what's going to hit her or how it's going to work and how it's going to push. So based off what we're seeing, this is obviously a correction, right? This is your pullback. It's on the 4-hour. I look from a perspective because I enter trades based off that checklist that I talked about. But on your 15, we look, it's all below the cloud on your smaller time frame, but overall trend up on your day chart, which is, that's it. That's the only difference. So this is a correction, a pullback. So it's going to pull back. This is your major reversal area. So if it respects this area, you can get your impulse down. So I don't know how far in you are. And of course, on the 15, it's above the cloud. So you need this to break past this point here. All right, we're coming up on time here. Let's see, let me speed through some of the questions here. I'm going to go ahead and end this recording. This recording will be on YouTube, so you can go ahead and check it out. Let's see. So yes, your baseline and conversion lines, they act as moving support and resistance lines. Yes. Currently, the broker that I use is FX Choice. And I'll tell you, just it depends on your broker as well too. There'll be certain things that you can't trade based off the spread. So I know FX Choice, sometimes their spreads are a little up there. But I use FX Choice. I actually use FX Choice and Traders Way. I'm sorry, I'm using my Traders Way account right now. But I have FX Choice too. So right now I'm in my Traders Way account actually. AU is a sell. Yeah, it's coming down right at entry right now. So market's moving a little bit slow. Like I said, it's and plus I believe there's an orange folder. So they're speaking, FOMC is speaking right now, but for the most part, AUD looks pretty good. Below the cloud on all the first three charts, the day chart, it's right in the midst of the cloud. Go to my YouTube. You can find Randy Webb or type in high probability ECC-11 strategy, or type in WebAnalyzer ECC-11 strategy, and you should come across the videos. Actually, let me see if I can post one of the videos here. Okay, good. So several videos. This is where I post all my videos at. So I just transitioned to YouTube because we were on Vimeo at first. So I'll have all the videos uploaded to the YouTube channel as well. But here's the ones that this one is a good one here. This 1 hour and 19 minute. We go over a good, nice checklist. And then you can check out the high probability confirmation checklist here as well too. Okay. I'll go ahead and put this in the chat as far as the channel. Yes, talking about the Kumo twist. Anytime, so the question is, can we kind of talk about the Kumo twist? Anytime that the cloud, you see a Kumo twist on the cloud, it does give you an indication of a possible reversal. So let's look at here. So we had a downtrend, 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 right? Is there a Kumo twist here? No Kumo twist, right? Cloud got thin, but no twist. You see this consolidation, and then what happens? You get your Kumo twist here, right? Kumo twist give you a indication of a price reversal. So right now, boom, the Kumo twist happened. So this is now our support area here. So it's going to consolidate, 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 and then we'll see what it's going to do. And then, of course, you may get your drop after this flag formation here. You get your drop down. Okay, but the Kumo twist gives you an indication of the price reversing. Doesn't mean it's going to reverse all the way, just letting you know the price is going to change directions. All right, so that's our time, folks. We're still in AUD USD. Hold the trade. You're going to be fine. I'm looking at once you go about five pips in profit, you can set your stop loss in profit. You can look for possibly 30 pips on this trade once it does start dropping. What I want you to watch on the day chart, like I said, there is a point on the day chart I'm going to point out for you all. Let's see. Let's show you here. So it's right at on the day chart, it has the, and you see our tungsten, our blue line right here. So what you can do if looking at a decision point, if this decides to make a move up, this is our previous high here. If it does make a move up, some hits, it goes past this point. This can be a decision point right here. Like I said, it's not on the day chart. Typically, like I said, I don't set stop losses, okay, because we'll be below the cloud, but we don't know if this is going to transition back up. So just to be safe, when looking at this, you can set your stop loss if you want 5 pips above your Kinston, or you can set it above this previous high here, okay, as far as decision point, just in case it starts to make a move outside of what we expected. But look for this trade, however, like I said, you can look for about 30 pips. So with that being said, you can look for 30 pips. You can see that line is sitting right at our that line that I just put there is sitting right at our Tennyson. So all of it lines up. So I wouldn't put my stop loss right at the Kinston. Stop loss will go here. Okay. All right. Or it can go right above your Kinston. And with that being said, looking at that, you definitely probably want to go for a longer term. So if you want to get 30 pips in there, or this is 40 pips area, so this is on our 1 hour, you can push for the 40 pip trade. So now we look to risk reward, so not too bad. Get your 40 pips in there, or if you are used to swing trading, you can take it down a little bit further. See, here's the first target. Next one would be here. Or you can take it all the way down to this point here. All right, so yeah, 100 pip potential. Just know during this part, this is a big trade. So once it hits this part here, it may be a pullback that comes to about this area here, and then you'll get your drop back down. That's it. All right, folks, that is my time. You can meet me on the Rise and Profit call. We're going to be hopping on here in about 10 minutes, riseandprofit.com for our morning daily call, daily motivational mentorship call. So that's our time, folks. Sorry I couldn't answer everybody's question here. We will be on at the same exact time tomorrow. Make sure that you get on here, practice yourself as well to go through that checklist. Like I said, we did some non-traditional trades. Typically, I do not trade within the cloud. I look for everything to be below the date, below all the charts before entering. So if you're brand new, just make sure that everything is below the cloud or everything is below the cloud when you take if you're using that technique. If you're not using that technique, that's fine. But for the high probabilities, make sure everything is below the cloud or everything is above the cloud before you take that trade, and make sure that you follow that forward confirmation before you enter. So that's our time, folks. Let's go, and I will see you guys on the Rise and Profit.